Go.
Okay, in this video we're going to give you a quick rundown of how to make the connections on the back of your EVC DSE laser system. Now what we have here is the back of the system, and typically this is what you'll see when you get it from the factory. This armored cable actually delivers light to the head to produce the laser. This is non-removable from this system. Generally, this jumper will be on it when you get it, in which case don't remove it, leave it as is. If it's not, or if it becomes disconnected, it's very important that the side with this little label is connected over here on the right hand side. And if you look at the end of this, I don't know if you can see it very well, this particular connector has 7 pins. This goes in the lower right hand one. This connector only has 5. If you put them on backwards, the laser will appear to work, but you won't get any energy out of it. These 2 connections have cables that run to the laser head. This is an RF output, which also goes to the laser head. In this section, you have basically what you see on a typical computer. There's RS-232 outputs, there's a video output, there's some USB ports and some Ethernet ports, and then there's some sound ports which don't mean anything because there's no sound involved in this. Power input, the switch. This is the shutter control interlock. I'll explain that in a minute. This is an output connector that you're probably not going to use. It just gives you the status of the shutter, which is available elsewhere. This is the 26-pin I/O output. This gets you hardwire for pattern selection, starting the machine, checking for faults, etc. This is the pendant port connector. You'll see something that looks like a little stylized, looks like a keyboard. It actually represents the other end of the machine, the front. When this jumper is in place, the front panel will control the machine. If you remove it, you can connect a pendant port, which gives you a unit on the end of a cable that emulates the front of the unit, or this can be connected to your PLC also to emulate the front of the unit, so you can turn it on, start it up, initiate the laser, open the shutter, etc. But this is what you're going to see when it comes to you out of the box. The first thing I'm going to point out is there's 2 jumpers. There's a 9-pin jumper and there's a 15-pin jumper. You can tell there's no cables coming out of them. This is the interlock jumper, and it goes right there. For time's sake, I'm not going to fasten them on, but you should.
What is the interlock?
The interlock goes to safety switches so that the unit will not fire the laser if the shutter is open. The shutter is a physical barrier that blocks the laser beam. And if the shutter is open, if the shutter is closed, the beam will not fire. The shutter will not open if this is not in place. Usually there's a switch on the door that when the switch is made, it lets you open the shutter. The pendant port jumper goes in here and basically just tells the unit that you're going to be using a front control panel. There's additional information on that you can get from Telesis. Here's a sheet that shows dependent connections. We're not going to go into that right now. That's for another day. Okay, so the first things that you need to hook up once you're at this stage is you need to hook up this armored cable, which this is the RF cable. You just have to be very careful with this. It's kind of delicate. It just goes right into here and you can just tighten it up. It needs to be more than finger tight, but not much more. You don't want to really wrench on it. It just needs to be snug. Next, you're going to see these 2, which also go to the head. This is the thing that steers the laser beam. This comes from the real-time controller card. And this is the rest of the laser controller that controls the shutter and some other electronics in there. You have a set of cables on one end there's male connectors. On the other end, there's female, so that you can't hook them up to the wrong place. In this case, you simply connect this to here, tighten it up, connect this one to here, tighten it up, and you're going to want to tighten both ends. For the sake of time, I'm not going to do that right now. And at this point, as far as the laser is concerned, you're ready to go. However, you're going to want to plug in your keyboard and your mouse, because you won't be able to program without it. You're going to want to plug in the monitor, and the power supply, which I'm not going to plug in right now because we're going to do some other things. And then when you have that all set and you have the head hooked up, you should be ready to go. You can flip on the switch and the unit will power up and energize. And if you have any questions about any of this, you have the number here at PTR. You're more than welcome to call and we can walk you through this if you need help.